Bring out the Zambonis, tape up those sticks, and get ready to drop the puck because the first signs of hockey season are officially here. The biggest question coming off of tonight's loss is the health of key player and captain Brad Marchand. After being injured in the first period, the 35-year-old did not return to tonight's game. And finally, I couldn't forget to mention the new quarterbacks coming in for our third and final takeaway. Going into training camp, it was known that veteran quarterback Jacoby Brissett would most likely be QB1 for the upcoming year. Brissett has proved himself throughout the first week of training camp and looks like the main guy for this season. However, that's not to discredit rookie Drake May. Now, having returned from their trip, they come back with shared experiences and stories to tell going into the regular season. The Boston Fleet are back and bringing a big wave of energy into their second season. After losing to Minnesota in the Walter Cup Finals last year, Boston is ready for a revenge season. Their key to success this year? Upping the offense. Well, the Bruins had themselves some fun here tonight at TD Garden as they won 9-4 over none other than the Montreal Canadiens. There was a total of 16 different players who recorded a point, and some even 3. Danton Heinen recorded his first ever career hat trick in tonight's game. The Bruins will look to continue this momentum on Monday versus the Winnipeg Jets. The Boston Celtics tipped off their season earlier this week, and all eyes are on them to see if they can become back-to-back champs, a feat that the previous 5 champs couldn't do. In fact, the last 4 champions didn't even make it past the second round of the playoffs after winning it all. Is it a curse? That's for you to decide. After going down in the second period of Game 2 against the Maple Leafs, Andrew Peeke was officially declared inactive for Game 3 and will not travel with the team. Mason Lohrei, however, was recalled from Providence earlier today and could be a replacement for Peeke. We are about a month away from NHL training camp, and the salary standoff between Jeremy Swayman and the Bruins is still happening. With the Bees bringing Swayman to arbitration in the previous season, this seems to be turning into an unfortunate trend for the team. So why is it taking so long for a deal to be done? Well, the short answer is we have no idea. Don Sweeney and the entire Bruins organization have barely touched on the subject since the trade deadline. Meanwhile, Swayman is enjoying his brat summer in Croatia. Only excitement for the Tampa Bay Rays as they get ready to face off against none other than division rival the Toronto Blue Jays on opening day. Statistics. What are they, and why does the entire sports industry revolve around them? Look, we all know that if a player doesn't achieve a certain amount of touchdowns or goals or points in a season, then the media collectively decides that that player doesn't deserve our attention anymore and moves on to the next big star. But in today's sports society, it seems like we, to some extent, overuse statistics. Yes, I know it sounds weird, but hear me out. In my mind, there are 2 types of tests for a player: the stats test and the eye test, and sometimes those don't align. The eye test is a more subjective way of looking at it and is based on what you see when you watch a game. Take, for example, Celtics guard Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday was a huge influence on the Celtics and are a big reason Boston won their 18th championship. However, when you look at the stats from the past year, they weren't anything spectacular. But if you were to ask Celtics fans about the 34-year-old, they would say how much of an impact he was on this team and how his leadership on the court was a true game changer. There's many examples of the eye test in sports. Take Alex Ovechkin in the 2021-2022 season. He scored 50 goals, but 9 were empty netters. And Jason Tatum, he was the 7th highest scorer in the NBA this past season, but how many of those points were made in garbage time? And lastly, I'd be remiss not to mention the fact that Jarren Duran is the first player in MLB history to record 10 triples, 20 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and 40 doubles, but Aaron Judge seems to be the only player in talks of winning MVP. Now, I'm not saying the stats don't matter, but there is more to a player that often gets overlooked because of the statistics-driven world we live in. Look, at the end of the day, while stats are great and very telling of an athlete, the only statistic that truly matters is the number of championships you've won. For Boston Globe Today Sports, I'm Danielle Dubois.